On today's show, who are the top wingers in the Atlantic Division?
How do the Ottawa Senators stack up against other teams, and who are the top 10 wingers overall?
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Today is Wednesday, August 20th, and Pillsy, it is the equivalent of the groundhog seeing its shadow. When you see fresh goalie gear on the ice, it means hockey season is coming soon.
Nature is healing, Ross. We're getting closer and closer to Sens hockey. And yeah, that's always the fun thing about the players getting back and getting on the ice for the first couple times. I mean, for the skaters, it's pretty similar. You're not going to see anything that's really too flashy. Maybe a guy switched companies or is trying a different stick or something cool. But for the goalies, for us gearheads, hashtag goalie friendly show, seeing a new set of pads, a blocker, new glove, new helmet. Ooh.
Well, Linus Ullmark's making us wait on the helmet, still rocking Marvin the Martian, although he has said he's going to switch it up. He did have a home and away helmet last year, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. But he was skating with his Swedish team, Modo, yesterday, and they posted a few photos. And this setup, if you're watching on YouTube, you saw yesterday on Twitter and Instagram, Send Central, LockedOn.Senators, this is as sharp as it gets. The all-black look is a bit of a hit or miss sometimes, but he has the same style that he did last year with the 3 lines through it. It almost looks like player socks, honestly.
Yeah.
But the detail of the white lines throughout it, it looks like nice marbling on it. I'm a huge fan of it.
I was going to go with cracked ice, Ross.
Ooh.
I think that's what he's going for, is the ice look there. Originally, I didn't really notice that cracked look, and now I'm really seeing it now that it's blown up here, and I'm split. Part of me likes it. Part of me thinks it looks like those are like old pads where the leather's cracking.
No, I think that it would have been too tough with the black jerseys having just like a thick black area on the top. I think it breaks it up perfectly, and yeah, maybe a shooter comes down and is like, damn, he's stopping a lot of pucks. Those pads look pretty used.
Yeah, sure. I think it was with Jackson Parsons, right? We talked about goalie color science, how he was saying the all black is an advantage to shooters or whatever. I'm not buying that. I love this look. I'll take an all or mostly black setup over a mostly or all white setup every single day of the week. I don't care about color science.
However, if Ullmark has a tough start to the season, we will be blaming the black pads.
Yeah, we can look into it. Yeah, we can spin this narrative however we want. But Ross, I know you talked about how last year he had a home and an away helmet. I don't like that. One bucket.
Okay.
The biggest part of being a goalie is your mentality. Cover that brain with the same thing night in, night out. You don't want to be messing around with different looks, different styles, different feels. Not good for the mental game, in my opinion.
Big brain take from Brandon on that one there. Yeah. A lot of the wingers we're going to talk about are going to be parked right in front of Linus Ullmark at times this season, but we're fired up that Ullmark's back on the ice. Look, a lot of the Sens are already trickling into town. We know Jake Sanderson, Ridley Gregg have been here for a little while. Artem Zub, Michael Amadio, Dave Poulin told us a few weeks ago on the show that he's spending his entire summer in Ottawa. He's a full-time Ottawa resident now, and I believe that
Drew, obviously,
of course, once Labor Day comes around, I think you're going to start to see the boys are back in town. Oh, yeah, man, can't wait.
Labor Day, I think, is when you want the next big group to push in here.
Yep, and we'll be here every step of the way. We got all our content planned all the way through rookie tournament, which is happening in the second weekend of September, followed by the preseason. and games in Quebec City that happen on the weekend of the 26th and 27th of September. The home opener, of course, Thanksgiving Monday, October 13th, and the regular season starts in Tampa on October 9th. Funny enough, the Senators will play 3 of their first 4 games against Atlantic Division teams. The only one that isn't is that home opener against the Western Conference Nashville Predators. But let's get into the Atlantic Division. And doing this exercise, turns out there's a lot of really good wingers in the division.
Yeah, big time. I think doing wingers was more difficult than ranking team center and top 10 overall centers in the division. Like wingers, we really hummed and hawed, and I could hear a lot of arguments for different ways to arrange teams and overall guys because there's a lot of talent in this division. I think it's fair to say, Ross, that the Atlantic Division is the toughest division in hockey.
It has to be. Now, I think there is an argument to be made for the Central Division.
Yep.
Where they had the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets, as well as Colorado and Dallas. And in the second half of the season, there was no team better than the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
But top to bottom, I think, sorry, Buffalo, maybe top to second last.
Even Boston.
There was no more difficult challenge than going up against the Atlantic Division night in and night out. And I mean, you just look at it, Billsy, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers back to back. The last 2 Eastern Conference teams to win before that was Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay again. 4 of the last 6 Stanley Cups have found their way to the Atlantic Division, albeit with 2 teams. We'll have to wait and see where they're ranked in our countdown that's coming up. And then in the third segment, we will look at our top 10 overall wingers in the division. But let's start at the bottom, just like we did yesterday. And you can check out our Monday. You can check out our last episode where we looked at all the centermen in the division. We're going to have a Ring of Honor on Friday. We're looking forward to that one. We'll tease what the topic is at the end of today's show. And then on Monday, we will do defensemen in the division. And then Wednesday, we'll wrap it up in between the pipes with the goalies. We had a couple of comments saying, hey, can you do the same, but with the Canadian teams? Maybe we'll save that for closer through the preseason, just a quick segment at the end of the show. But the countdown begins at the bottom with number 8. And I think this really puts into perspective how we value depth.
Yeah.
Because coming in at number 8 is the Boston Bruins. And David Pasternak's one of the best wingers in the National Hockey League. But beyond that, the Boston Bruins, they tried to address their wing depth this offseason, bringing in Victor Arvidsson, Tanner Jeannot, and Matej Blumel. And that's a name that we'll get to in a moment, but you might not know him well. But I think the Bruins expect him to be a contributor right away. They just don't have the same depth as any of the teams. Now, if you added Brad Marchand to this list, they might be a little bit higher. But clearly things went in a different direction last trade deadline. And for that reason, the Boston Bruins come in 8th.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of middle 6 guys here, right? Obviously, past a elite top tier talent in the league, let alone the division. But then you get Morgan Geekie, Pavel Zacha, Victor Arvidsson. Like those are middle 6 guys. Like I don't want any of those guys playing on a top line. Really.
Yeah, I mean Morgan Geekie, if he can continue what he did last season, I think there's an argument to be made. But I think he needs to show a little bit more. He had 33 goals last year.
Yeah, no, that's solid. But I mean, 57 total points like that.
It's not the top end tier of the guys who are in second coming up in our countdown, but 33 goals is still pretty impressive.
That's good for a second line winger. I mean, it's good for even a first line winger if you could bunch a lot more points. Like David Pastrnak had 106 points. Morgan Geekie was second on this team with 57.
Yeah, and they played a ton together. So how many of those were just pasta noodles, you could call it. Just give the noodle the pasta, and he'll put the sauce all over it. So the Boston Bruins come in number 8, and that's after coming in at number 7 in our center depth. So up front, not great these days for the Boston Bruins. Coming in at number 7 is the Detroit Red Wings, and I can already hear the pitchforks being sharpened in Michigan, but I hated what they did this offseason. Like, I don't think that either James Van Riemsdyk or Mason Appleton moved the needle at all for the Red Wings. I think Patrick Kane is still a nice player. I think he kind of defied logic when he came back from that hip surgery that had ended careers before and has still been a productive player, but he's another year older as well. They do have top-end talent in Lucas Raymond, who may be making an appearance coming up in our top 10 overall, but I just, again, it thins out way too quickly for me for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you got to respect Alex DeBrincat. I know
No, I
Sens
don't.
fans. I mean, he had 39 goals last year, 1 away from 40. He's still a really good player on a great contract.
He's streaky for sure.
I hate to say it, but and then Lucas Raymond obviously is a top line guy. Patty Kane, I think he's going to continue to be around the range he was last year. He had 59 points last year. I think he'll be in the 50s as far as points go moving forward, but give him time and space with the puck. He still has that Showtime type of talent. And I actually like James Van Riemsdyk, Ross. He's pretty much a slow-moving sniper, but he's still got that wicked release. And then, yeah, the rest of the list is just kind of bottom 6 guys that I don't have a lot of faith in.
No, and maybe Wings fans are still waiting for Jonathan Berggren to kind of break out the way that they expected to. It just hasn't really happened. He had his first full second, I guess, because he had almost a full NHL season, then only played 12 games. Last year, he had 75 games, but only 24 points and really wasn't a needle mover at all. So for that reason, the Detroit Red Wings come in at number 7 on our countdown. We'll get back to our countdown next, but you're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Look, we've all been there. Logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of that endless scrolling, check out Game Time's Zone Deal to pick the best seats in the section for you. And if you're curious about what your seats are going to look like before you buy, the app has panoramic seat views. No surprises there. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. It's our home in the heart of the Glebe. I was just there a couple weeks ago, had an absolute blast sitting on the patio. They got the outdoor TV that you can go watch all the games on. They also make sure at 779 Bank Street that they have the vibes that are completely free right in the heart of the Glebe. Steps from Lansdowne. They've got something almost every single night. You can start your week with Wing Night every Monday, all day and all night. Trivia night goes on Tuesdays. Bring your crew, put your knowledge to the test. Tonight, Wednesday, it's open mic night, whether you play, sing, or just want to kick back and listen. It's a great way to get into the vibes. Thursday, it's all about cheap tacos. And of course, Saturday night features live music with no cover ever. How about that for making sure the vibes are high? I keep saying vibes for good reason, because the vibes are free at the GCP. They've got a great lineup of guests on Saturday. It's going to be Joey V's Jamboree at the GCP performing. And then on August 30th, it'll be Rob Cronin. So go bring your friends and head down to the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is fired up for hockey season. The shuttle will return. So whether you want to go there, watch the game, live music, or just have a night out with friends, make the Glebe Central Pub your home base, because, as you know, the vibes are free at the GCP. All right, Millsy, that got me some goosebumps doing a GCP read with the Sens shuttle coming around the corner. Cannot wait to be with all you sickos on Thanksgiving Monday, taking the shuttle down to Canada, Ontario, home of the Ottawa Senators. Where will the Ottawa Senators find their home on our countdown, the best wingers in the Atlantic Division? We'll find out soon. But so far, we have the Boston Bruins at number 8 with David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, Pavel Zacha, Victor Arvidsson, Tanner Jeannot, Matej Blumel, and Mikey Asimont. John Beecher there wrapping things up. I did want to quickly mention Matej Blumel because he signed a one-way contract coming over from the Texas Stars, the affiliate of the Dallas Stars, and he was an absolute weapon in the American Hockey League for the last couple of years. So they're banking on him to continue that offensive production. He had 39 goals last year and 31 the year before. With the Detroit Red Wings, it's also very highly weighted, let's say. Like it starts off strong with Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, and Patrick Kane, and then falls off a little bit with some middle six options: James Van Riemsdyk, Michael Rasmussen, Mason Appleton, Jonathan Berggren, and Elmer Soderblom. Pilsy coming in at number 6. It's the Buffalo Sabres. Second day in a row. I almost say Boston instead of Buffalo.
Oh boy, we got to work on that. It's unfortunate, Ross, because years past, you would never mix these two up in any rankings, standings, or lists because they would be on complete opposite sides, but they're closer now than probably they have been in a very, very long time.
And I just want to mention, too, because we got some comments on our top center show saying, hey, where's Tage Thompson? Tage Thompson lined up at the wing for the second half of the season, even when Josh Norris got hurt. Because when Norris came, they were kind of riding shotgun together on the top line. But I looked up the lineups at the end of the season, and he played top line right wing. And you know what? I kind of love it. When you have a shooter like Tage Thompson, having him get that extra space to get his shot off, I think is going to benefit him. So it's always an option to move him back at center, but we put Tage Thompson as a winger for this list. So it goes Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, Zach Benson, Jason Zucker, Jack Quinn, shout out, good Ottawa 67 boy, Josh Doan, who they got in the trade in the JJ Peterka move this offseason, Jordan Greenway, and Justin Danforth. I like the potential of this group as well, but there just hasn't been enough experience or, let's say, production at the NHL level outside of maybe Zach Benson, but Jack Quinn's left you wanting more, and I think Josh Doan still has another step in him in the next year or two. But if those two things happen, I think the Buffalo Sabres could find themselves higher on this list next season.
Yeah, I like what the Sabres have got going on the wing, Ross. You look at Tage Thompson, elite number 1 winger. Alex Tuch and Jason Zucker are solid vets. Like, Alex Tuch is sneaky one of my favorite guys for the Sens to target. Like, he would look really good on this team, scores goals, plays a responsible game as well. And Jason Zucker, that gamble paid off for them. I think they just signed him to a 1-year deal, hoping to trade him at the deadline. But
it
then
was
they're
cap
like,
floor.
Yeah. That was their idea, but then they're like, man, you fit in perfectly here. And they found a way to extend him, which is kind of crazy for the Sabres. It seems like more people want to leave rather than stay. So that's a good, and he hits too, Zucker. And then with Benson and Quinn, those are young guys. They're going to find their way.
Benson's a stud, though.
Yeah, I mean,
the points weren't there. I think he's a heck of a player. And like he's 19 still. Like, he turned 20 after the season. Like, he hasn't even played a game as not a teenager in the league. And he's already played 146 NHL games.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. We both like his potential, but he's not there yet.
No.
I mean, 28 points in 75 games. He's got a ways to go, but I like the potential there. So, yeah, this Sabres team, they have potential and they have pieces. It just, Ross, it feels like they have so many good parts, but they can't put it all together.
Yeah, and we'll see if this is the year that they do. But the Buffalo Sabres come in at number 6 on our countdown, the top wingers in the division. Coming in at number 5, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when you take out an over 100-point player in Mitch Marner, say what you want about him, but you're going to fall a little bit. and Matthias Michelli, who they have quote unquote replaced him in terms of a undersized playmaking winger. It's not even close, but they do still have that top talent with William Nylander, and Matthew Nyes is turning himself into a legit top 6 forward on a competitive team. But they just, to me, they are focused on changing the DNA. I can appreciate Brad Treliving saying that. Dakota Joshua is a perfect example of that, where he is going to be a factor on the ice, but it won't be in the same way as we have seen with how they were built in the past. But to me, it's just kind of a bunch of dudes other than that. Like Bobby McMahon has had stretches where he plays really well. Then he disappears for a month or two. Calle Jarnkrok's really had a tough time staying in the lineup at times where he's a healthy scratch. And you could say the same about Nick Robertson. So I just think that they're better than the teams below them, but they're not the top echelon like they have been in past years.
Yeah, I think losing Mitch Marner puts them down on paper. It's certainly a big knock, as much as I love to hate.
This isn't paper. This is a digital form of media we've got here.
As much as I love to hate on Mitch Marner, getting 100 points is pretty sweet. But, Ross, I think they're going to be a better team for it. I think letting him go was the smartest thing they could do, because how many times can you run it back and just win one playoff round and then get spanked by the team you face after? They needed to make the change, and I think they're going to be a better team for it overall. Will they be dominant in the regular season like they were in the past? It's probably not. I think they're going to be fighting for that third spot in the division, but I do think it's the right move for them moving forward. They have to change something.
Had to. And they're number 5 in our list of the best overall depth on the Atlantic Division when it comes to the Wings. I still think we're in the same tier coming up, but we'll save that for after the break. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, there's a new holiday coming up, Ross. I don't know if you're aware of this, but August 26th, it's now a holiday. It's officially FanDuel Futures Days. I'm fired up about this. I always tell you guys to diversify your sports betting portfolios. You got to get some futures in there. And for football fans who live for bold prediction and preseason hunches, this day's for you, August 26th, for just 24 hours. FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment, Ross. I know you're a new hardcore NFL fan. You've picked where your loyalties lie with the Chicago Bears. What a roller coaster that is. So I'll ask you 2 questions. Who's your MVP and who's your Super Bowl pick?
Oh, I had to scroll down so far to find Caleb Williams for MVP of the league. But jokes aside, how can you go against the favorite, Lamar Jackson? Just an absolute stud. I know, but he is. And that's why he's my pick for MVP. Now, you asked me for a Super Bowl pick. I'd like to wait until like week 8 to make that. But since I don't have the benefit of that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say it. We're going to get a repeat in the NFL, just like we got a repeat in the NHL this year. I think the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 700, tied with Buffalo and Baltimore for the best odds at FanDuel. I like the Eagles.
All right, so Ross went for the favorite with the MVP and the reigning Super Bowl champion for his picks. All right, Well, if you want to mix it up even more, you can do it your way. Parlay your division winner, dark horses. I always do division winner parlays. Pillsy's parlay over here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Future Day is one day and one day only, August 26th. Mark your calendars. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, Pillsy, right back to our countdown. Top wingers in the Atlantic Division. We've got Boston at 8, Detroit 7, Buffalo 6, and the Toronto Maple Leafs at number 5.
Before we go to 4, Ross, would you say same as with the Senators, 6, 7, 8, which ironically are, again, Buffalo, Detroit, and Boston. Would you say they're in the same tier and we're now entering a new tier?
No, I actually think that there's a tier from 6 up, but that's because I believe in Zach Benson.
Okay, so 7 and 8 are a tier, and 6, 5.
I think
That's
three,
the end of a tier, or the
three-
next team is in that tier as well.
I think 3, 4, 5, and I'm
Put
maybe
Buffalo
I'm
in their own
no,
tier.
I'm
You can do
I
that if
honestly
you want.
I honestly think that
Okay,
because I
all
think
right.
Buffalo is substantially better than the other two. I think the other two are very close, and then I think it's 3, 4, 5 altogether.
All right. Well, let's
Well,
see these teams then.
This is always as unbiased as possible.
Unbiased.
The Ottawa Senators come in as the 4th best wingers in the National Hockey League's Atlantic Division. And we obviously know them. Brady Tkachuk, stud. Drake Batherson, I would say underrated at this point with what he can do with that contract. Fantastic. Where it gets, where the question marks come in is Fabian Zetterlund. Like, is he going to be a 25 goal scorer or is he going to be a 2-goal scorer? Like he was in the 20 games he was with Ottawa. So I think that that's kind of why we were unable to be extremely bullish on the winger depth and put them higher. Then at number 3, Claude Giroux still had 50 points last year, but is now 37, turning 38 years old. Will that be another regression? Ridley Gregg, we love his potential. And then beyond that, it's just Michael Matteo, great in his role. David Perron, are we going to get second half David Perron? There's some questions. How much more offensive growth is in Ridley Gregg's game? There's a lot of potential with this group, but they have to prove it to move up from number 4.
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything you said there. I think the main thing for the Ottawa Senators winger, Ross, is they don't have an offensive game breaker. Now, obviously, we know Brady Tkachuk puts up points. He led the Ottawa Senators last year in goals, but that was only at 29. The Ottawa Senators did not have a 30-goal scorer last year. That's not
First
good.
time in a long time.
Yeah, that's not good. Like no team should be in that scenario. They need one more game-breaking, goal-scoring top 6 guy to be elevated, in my opinion. So I think 4 is where they should be and probably where they're going to be for the next couple of years.
And I was looking at our off-season checklist for Steve Stais, and actually number 1 was get a high-scoring winger to complement the top 6. The Sens, they've cornered the market on middle 6 forwards, and it's just about which one or ones of them can make the leap into top 6 legit. Because right now, I'd say they have 2 legit top 6 forwards in Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. And then it's like Claude Giroux has been one, but we want to see it again at the start of the season. And then the rest of the guys who can elevate to be that. Because could it be David Perron? Yeah. Could it be Ridley Gregg? Yeah. Could it be Fabian Zetterlund? I think there's the best percentage chance of that being the case. But let's see it with the Ottawa Senators. And I know we're going to get some pushback on this, but coming in at number 3 is the Montreal Canadiens. I think Ottawa's top 3 or top 2 that we just mentioned, the top 6 forwards are better than the Habs' top 2, top 6 forwards in Cole Caulfield and Juraj Slafkovsky. But I think 3 through 8, the Habs have more depth up front on the wing than the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, it pained me to do this ranking with you, Ross, and have the Habs ahead, but I do think it's the right move. They have better depth overall, and I think Demidov, I mean, I know
He's
it's
the
small
X factor
sample
in all
size. Yeah, like he could end up being their top winger, and he could end up being the number 3 winger in this division if things go the way that it's kind of looking like. Again, we're a little early on this, but I'm so pissed other teams let the Habs draft.
I'll never forgive Chicago. They could have had Bedard Demidov for the next 10 years. And we liked Artem Levshunov at 7 for Ottawa.
No, I'm more upset with Columbus, Ross.
Fair.
Yeah.
Brutal. And Zach Balduke, they got in the offseason trade.
Great move.
That's a great move. Patrick Laine is a liability 80% of the time, and he's scoring goals the other 20% of the time that he's out on the ice. So I think he still has some value there. And it's a low risk. Look at last year of his contract. They had the ability before some of these guys like Lane Hudson's contract's up after this year, and that comes off the books just in time to reallocate some of that money. Alex Newhook's kind of their Swiss Army, their equivalent of Ridley Gregg in essence. And then Josh Anderson and Brendan Gallagher are vets that, I mean, with Josh Anderson, you can pencil him in for 20 goals. It feels like every year. He plays some frustrating hockey at times, but and I know the last 2 years, he hasn't been at that 20 goal mark, but it feels like he scores 20 goals against Ottawa every year.
Dry erase him
exactly.
for 20 goals every year.
Well, forget the dry erase. We'll just hit the old delete button, backspace. But he is a mutant out there though, and he hits too, right? 176 hits last year for Josh Anderson. He's still only 30 years old. Again, one of those guys that came in the league so young with Columbus that you think he might be older than he is. But yeah, top to bottom. And we had Maria commented on Monday's show being like, it was weird hearing you guys say nice things about the Habs. So please don't let this get out.
Enough of this.
Hate for Habs fans to think that we respect anything about what they've done with their roster. But they do have a very good winger depth. And we mentioned yesterday, like their second line center spot is the biggest question mark for them. At wing, things are shaping up nicely for the Habs. They come in at number 3 on our countdown. No doubt, just like it was with the centerman, the top 2 teams for wingers are in Florida. And coming in at number 2 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have the best winger in the division. No spoilers, our overall top 10 coming up. But Nikita Kucherov is ridiculous. He's unbelievable. He is a 100-point mutant almost every single season. Then you've got Brandon Hagel, who has just skyrocketed. I feel like there were some eyebrows raised when Tampa traded 2 first-round picks to Chicago to get him. And now you're like, well, why didn't you give up a 3rd first-round pick? This guy's incredible, 90 points. And the fact that we struggled to put a 90-point guy at number 2 because Jake Gensel is so good as well, 41 goals for him this past season. Yep. And people wondered, too, can he do it away from Sidney Crosby when he got moved to Carolina? The answer is, yeah, duh. He's unbelievable. They go out and they get Oliver Bjorkstrand from the Seattle Kraken. They go out and they get Pontus Holmberg in free agency. Connor Geekie, I don't think he's reached his potential either. I don't know if he will. Slow boots, but huge, big body, played center his whole life, moved over to the wing. And this Gage Gonsalves kid, he kind of broke out to me in terms of a speedy bottom 6 option. I think he's got some potential, but really their top 3 are so much better. That's why it's a different tier here. I think like 4 through 8, it's okay, like it's decent, but when you're paying your top guys that much, it kind of makes sense. The Tampa Bay Lightning's top end wingers are just elite.
Yeah, the top 3 is so nasty. Yeah, I don't have much more to add, Ross. You pretty much covered it all there. I think I considered them at number 1, but then I just went through the, no spoilers, the number 1 team's depth.
Yeah, I wonder who it is.
Just everybody there just fills their role so well. And if you put the other guys on different teams, they could play in elevated roles as well. So the top winger depth in the Atlantic Division is the Stanley Cup defending champions, the Florida Panthers.
Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, Carter Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand, Eetu Luostarinen, Evan Rodriguez, Maki Samoskevich, and Jesper Bockqvist. Pilsy, go off.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, I know he's had some injuries, but he's been able to battle through them. He's put up multiple 100-point seasons in his career. He plays that greasy rat-type game while still getting points. Sam Reinhart is elite. Carter Verhaeghe is underrated, I think. Brad Marchand as your 4th best guy playing on the 3rd line with Eetu Luostarinen. Those guys are so good in the 3rd line role. I'm a big Evan Rodriguez guy. He can play up, down the lineup, left wing, right wing, center even. Samoskevich is a guy I kind of overlooked. He's pretty solid too. And then Jesper Bockqvist, decent for your last guy. Like that, they're just overall talent. You can't touch them.
No, you can't. And there's a reason why. They're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and multiple players on the Florida Panthers also make an appearance on our top 10 wingers in the Atlantic Division. Here's how they stack up. Coming in at number 1, it's Nikita Kucherov. And this is a 2-person tier. It's Kucherov and Pasternak are the top 2 wingers in the Atlantic Division. Then I would say there's a tier from 3 to 6, where we have Matthew Tkachuk at number 3, Sam Reinhart at number 4, and William Nylander number 5. Then Tage Thompson at number 6. Followed by number 7, Brandon Hagel, number 8, Brady Tkachuk, number 9, Jake Gensel, and number 10, Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 10 spot, Ross, you could shuffle a couple different guys in there, but just so we don't have a full-on riot from Michigan leading into Ontario, we decided to put Lucas Raymond as number 10.
Hey, he's a stud. Yeah, he belongs on this list.
Absolutely. Yep. Brady Tkachuk at 8 feels tough to do as a Sens fan, but it's so hard to justify, even with a bias, leapfrogging him over any of these other guys. So I think, Ross, stop me if you've heard this before, but I think we nailed this list.
Hell yeah. Let us know your top 10 lists in the YouTube comments. You can also let us know on Twitter. We'll post these graphics over the next 2 days. And we'll get ready for our top defenseman in the Atlantic Division, which will come out on Monday. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is this has been a fun exercise. It really kind of paints the picture of where the Ottawa Senators stack up in the division, and I can't wait for hockey to get going. This is firing me up to really get the season started here.
My final thoughts is we have Olympic orientation camp, and Team USA doesn't have 1 Senator, doesn't have 2, but they got 3 Ottawa Senators players because Shane Pinto will be joining the Team USA not selection camp, but the orientation camp this summer. Brady Tkachuk's already on the team, one of the first 6 players that were named, and Jake Sanderson's got a great chance to make that team. But it was awesome, and that's got to be a huge confidence boost for Shane Pinto to get the nod.
Well, he was a big part of their success at the Worlds, if I'm not mistaken, the World Championship. And when you're building Olympic rosters, Team Canada learned this the hard way. You can't just build a team of all-stars. You can't have guys that are used to playing top-line minutes and scoring goals, killing penalties, and playing 8 minutes a night. You need to find those bottom 6 guys that can play those checking roles. Shane Pinto's your guy.
Yes, he is. And we're your guys for Friday's Ring of Honor, where we're going to have Martian back, and we are going to be doing the top achievements in Senators history. So it'll be open-ended. We can do team, player, anything to do surrounding the Ottawa Senators. We are going to be doing the top achievements in Senators history. For today, we say goodbye. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platforms. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.